So as you can see, I did some graphical changes, mostly some look dev to see what's working and what not. Okay, ignore all of this. We're going to work with the inventory. I'm going to create first a new script, and I'm going to call this item container scriptable. Open that tab, redo. Okay. Let's okay, let's just keep it under the SA. Actually, let's just keep it under the same as the other scriptables, turn base, and we want this to be a scriptable object. Let's leave this over here and let's go and create a new class. I already have a folder called inventory. Let's call this inventory create. Let's call this item. Open this, close that, namespace, SA, turn based, but I want to include this as under the namespace of inventory. I don't want this to be mono behavior. I still want this to be a scriptable object, and I want to be able to create as many items as I want. So I'm going to add create as a menu. I'm going to add it under inventory. Let's call this item. Okay, and we have something over here. We need item ID, texture or sprite, better yet, item, or let's call it icon, and we're going to have a few more things added in this, but later. So on to let's close some of this. We don't need most of this. Skip that, close that, close all of this. Let's keep the, no, let's close the game manager. So on the scriptable object manager, because I want this, I want to have only one item, container scriptable, I'm going to make this into create item container, and over here create item container, and this will be item container scriptable. Okay, then in here we're going to add an array. Actually, I want to add this into a list because I have a reason. And a list will be more easy. Let's add the namespace. A list will be more easy to modify from external sources than an array, and we will have all our items in a single list. Okay, let's also add a dictionary so we can easily go through all of this, and let's also add an init in here which was going to go through each of these items, and it's going to check if dictionary dot try get value, not try get value, contains key items I dot item ID back.log this is the unique ID of the item, and back.log item plus is a duplicate. This is not allowed. Only else to do dictionary dot add items I dot item ID and the I. So when we want to get an item now, we can do public item get item string id, and we're going to do integer index -1 if dictionary try get value id out index, okay, return items index, otherwise return null. Okay, so if we don't have an item, we're going to get a null. Okay, so this will work fine with this. Let's go into our items. We have the item ID. We can also have description, you know, whatever you need over here. For now, we're just going to go with these two. Awesome. So all of our items will be able to go, will basically be can correspond into slots. Not all of our items will correspond into 3D models though. Okay, so we will have weapons will be different from you know, equipment and stuff you can wear and stuff like that. So with this, let's go close that. Let's go and create a new folder. Let's call this scriptable objects. Create another folder in here. Let's call this inventory, and create another folder. Call this items. Create inventory item. Let's start with our weapons. For example, we can say MP5 short compact. Anyway, let's go with short. Item ID. This is unique through all your items. Let's go with shotgun. I think it's called Spaz, I don't know. Keep in mind some names are copyrighted always. Okay, so then let's go art. We have our icons. I have a few of these over here, icons. For example, this is the MP5 short. Drag and drop that over here. I'm actually going to bring in a new tab, new project, and I'm going to lock this into my items list over here. Then on this, I'm going to lock this as well over here. And for the Spaz or the shotgun, let's rename this to Spaz then, I guess. Okay, you get the idea. Let's also add the pistol because I also have that inside the scene. Inventory item. Okay, M9 and yeah, let's go with these three. So when I want to add now something into my, we actually need to create the inventory database, create item container, which this will allow us, let's say this probably created over here. I'm going to take this from here and just add it. Actually, I'm going to take all of this and add them inside the scriptable objects and leave the resources empty. Item container, we have all our items. Let's add 3, and as I can just go and drag and drop all my items like this over here. And if I want to change something individually, I can just do it from here. Okay, awesome. So we can do that the same for the characters as well, and for the descriptions too. But yeah, I think for the description it's just going to be an overkill. We don't necessarily need this. Actually, for this we can edit it entirely, but let's do that on a later video. For the characters, I want to keep them like this, so I can modify them and I can add as many as I want, as I said, through external sources. We might see that on a later video. We'll see how it goes. But for now, I want to work with this. However, okay, we now have our items. Let's go into one of our units and say we have our unit controller. We now want on each of these units we basically need an inventory manager. So close that, and let's go over here, and over here let's go and create a new script. Let's call this inventory manager. Namespace, say turn-based. Let's keep this on higher up. We don't want any of this, so delete them. So we actually might not even need the mono behavior, now that I think of this. Okay, let's leave it like this and we'll see what we need. We will need an init, and actually no, okay, let's leave it as a mono behavior. It shouldn't really be a problem. Let's say we have an array, a string array with items. We now actually let's make it a list then. Items, string items. So on init, we're basically going to be searching all of these items we have down here, and we're going to be creating runtime instances for our own container, for our own game basically. So to do this, let's think. We first need to manage our inventory, our actual inventory, so let's do it on the resources manager. Open that up. Let's add public item container scriptable items. As you can see, we do have the dictionaries on a different level, so let's take that and add them. I actually want to take both of these and add them right inside the character scriptable, and let's make this into public void init. Then from the resources manager, the load characters, it's now we're going to cut all of these and paste it down here. We don't need the duplicate now though, obviously. Okay, so from the resource manager, instead of doing load characters, we can just go and do object init, and I actually want to rename this into characters. Let's rename this to descriptions, and the same thing, cut this, go over here and do public void init, delete that and that and that and that. Back to the resources, delete this as well, and descriptions can now be descriptions.init. This will work on this level as well. Character index, but I think I want to do this from just to keep them, all in one place. So let's add them down here. This will never happen because we are inside the scriptable object. And get index, let's see. Okay, let's rewrite this a little bit cleaner. Index -1, and over here say if character indexes, try and get value, character ID, out index, then this will be return null, return all characters index. Okay, then our resources manager, we're just going to go and say return characters dot get character ID. Same thing for the character stats. Let's copy all that, although we're going to change this as well. Delete all of this. Character, whoop. Try get value, character ID, out index. We missed something, which is this. Okay, return default stats index. Then on resources manager, delete all of that, return characters, get character stats, character ID. We shall do the same for the description, but I think I want to do the descriptions differently than any of this. We won't need this anymore. We're not actually using it. Yeah, okay, we're using it with this, so let's keep it then. So we need characters, we need descriptions, and let's also init the items. And we have all right. Actually, I want to init first items. Maybe descriptions can go even there first. Characters init, okay. So we have all our items. Let's go now then into our inventory manager. This will go. What will this will mean for we can actually just drag and drop the inventory dot item dot not item, inventory dot item container scriptable, and let's call this item container. We can use the reference, and then for each of the items we have over here, items dot count. We can go and get the actual item, so that will be, let's include the inventory. Item equals items container get item items I. Okay, and with this, depending on the item type, which is what is going to be, we're going to be creating and running some different logic. And let's go over here then and say public enum item type weapon. Let's see, consumable, equipment, or wearable, better yet, wearable, consumable, and yeah, we can expand this a lot more, as much as we want actually, but for now let's just keep these two. Okay, so we have all of this, and now I want to create a new scriptable object that is going to handle my runtime. Basically, it's going to be a container to keep all the data we don't need to keep on the memory, but we still need to know where to get them. For example, any runtime instances, we don't need to have them sitting on the memory. Okay, no need to use all that memory. We just need to know where they are, and if we need to get them, we can actually get them without having to go through all of the initialization phase when we start. So let's go scriptable, and let's call this runtime references. Namespace, say turn-based, got that, delete all of that, let's make this into a scriptable object. Then we're going to have a list of items, public, let's say using SA B inventory using SA P characters. And actually no, I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to create a new class. I'm going to call this runtime item, which in here I'm going to add runtime public item. I can also add which character actually has this, so we can do this per character, I guess. Let's do that then. Public class runtime character, public list runtime item items. From the item we can get a lot more things, but for now I'm also going to create a runtime weapon. Runtime, just in case it is a weapon, and we can actually use maybe, okay, let's leave this for now. We're going to create a list runtime characters. Since we're here, we can also do a dictionary, string, integer, dictionary, new, and to separate through all of this we need a string ID, and we're going to be doing void add character. We have a unit controller which basically will hold everything we need to know for our unit, such as the inventory and all stuff like that. Okay, therefore we can do this runtime character r new runtime character r dot id will be u dot stats dot id character id, and let's see, and for the items now let's go inventory manager. So maybe, yeah, let's remove this from here, let's ignore that. We have a list of items and let's delete this as well. We're going to do this on the scriptable level, and on the inventory manager then, actually, you know what, let's keep this as a class, but we're going to serialize it, and let's go on, let's open the unit controller and down here let's say public inventory manager inventory. So what this is going to do is going to give us on a unit the same way we have the stats, it's also going to give us an inventory. So let's maybe bring it on top of all of this and let's keep it down here. Then back onto the runtime references. Okay, we have all of this. Then because this is going to be a scriptable, we can also add the items, the container, and we can say for u dot inventory dot items runtime item don't count, this will be runtime item equals new runtime item equals item dot item will be items. Yeah, let's write this a little bit cleaner. Then let's do it for each string s as string in u dot inventory. Let's find the item first, the actual item. Items get item by s, then runtime item ri, new runtime item ri dot item will be I, and this will be u inventory dot items, and we want to add this to r dot items dot add ri. Okay, if you want to, you can serialize this in case you want to visualize it in the inspector. We don't really need that. Okay, so we need to actually know where to get this, the runtime reference, and let's go and add it on the scriptable object manager then. create a runtime references container. Runtime references, and basically this, if we serialize this also much later, it's basically our save state, or the state our characters are in. What items do they have? Where do they have it? What slot they've placed it? We don't have yet slots, but we're going to make slots, and stuff like that. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Okay, then let's go into, let's add it in the resource manager, runtime references. Let's call it runtime. Save that and minimize. Let's go and create database. So that, come on, compile. Then database, runtime references container. Create that. This will make it right into the resources. Let's take it from the resources and just drop it into the scriptable objects. And since we're here on the resources manager, let's drag that on top, and let's assign everything because we lost it. Character scriptable, descriptions, and items. Actually, I want to change the descriptions as well, but yeah, we're going to do that on a later video. So whenever one of these guys gets initialized now on the unit controller, this has to do on game level, on the actual inside the level. So we can just go and say over here, resources manager. Actually no, let's do that even before that. Let's go, let's add runtime reference down here. Runtime references, let's keep it runtime, and not a runtime references, let's call this a runtime character. Call that runtime, and when you do the init, you're going to be passing the runtime character, runtime equals C. Which means when we add a character onto our runtime references, we need to be returning it also. So this will be add character and then finally return R. So where do we call this? The same place we call the init on the game manager, that is. For each one of these guys, we're going to be having a runtime character R new, not new. Do we have the resources? Let's see. Don't have the resources down here, I guess. Okay then. Resource manager, resources equals resources manager singleton. Well, this don't even need to be singletons, so you can just drag and drop them. We always need all of these, so it won't really be much of a problem. And this will be resources dot add dot runtime dot add character units I. Okay, so that will make you a runtime character and it will assign it over here. Close that. So let's see, let's highlight this and hit play. And we probably got an error. No, we didn't. We need to also assign this item container we didn't get an error because we don't have any items on these guys. Okay, let's make sure everything is correct. One more thing we need to do when we should run an init, because when we are doing changes on the scriptable object while we are on the editor, this will actually get populated. And you know what, let's also serialize this. For now we don't, for the final build we don't really need them to be serialized, just so that we know what we're doing, though. Let's just serialize them for now. And yeah, I want to also run an init because we want to start with a clean slate. So characters dot clear dictionary dot clear, and the init will be from the game manager. Before we do any of this, we can just go and say resources dot runtime dot init. Okay, then let's go into one of these guys. Let's go to the inventory on the items you have and just say let's just say 2 M9 and MP5 short. Hit play. Runtime. Yeah, I guess we forgot something. So let's see what that is. Oh yeah. On the characters, we need to add also the runtime character we just created. Okay, otherwise we're not going to be seeing them. And because we're adding him inside this, inside the runtime character, we should also do dictionary.add character not r.id, and basically this will be r. Characters, come on, characters dot count -1. Okay, characters should have unique IDs unless they are enemies, but we will do somewhat of a unique ID for enemies as well on a later part. Okay, then hit play. And now we have all our characters and their runtime items, if they have them, over here. As you can see, one ID was wrong, so this item doesn't exist. Let's go and find the actual name of the item. MP5 short. We need this ID, not the name you see over here, although I guess if you have it the same name it will help as well. Let's add this on this guy, MP5 short, and let's do over here, and this will bring into our attention one more thing, which if I is null, just keep this one. Okay, don't do anything, it's not an item, you cannot find it, so ignore it. So let's go right into the item again. We have the type, and the same way we have items, we need to go and create weapons. So close that, and let's go into our scripts, inventory. Yeah, let's do it in the inventory. Create base delete all of this, scriptable, create asset menu, menu name, inventory, weapon. So this one needs a reference to its actual item reference. We were going to be getting the ID from there, from the actual item, so no need to also include an ID. But we're going to need, for example, we're going to need the prefab or the weapon or model prefab, and a few more things like weapon stats and stuff like that. Okay, we're not going to mess with those right now. And let's see. Actually, you know what? If we do it with no, okay, let's go with this and we'll worry about it in the future. Anyway, close that. And let's go and say characters. Not characters. Let's go into a scriptable object. We have items. Let's rename this into. Let's create a new folder. Yeah, that's going to get a little bit annoying. So let's compromise and let's go back and do it the other way. Let's keep. No, I don't want to do it like this. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a string. We're going to add it item ID. Then on the item container scriptable, we're going to create. Let's rename this dictionary into items dictionary. And this doesn't need to be public. Let's create a public list weapons, new list weapon, dictionary, string, integer, weapons, dictionary. Okay, and on init, we're going to be doing the same for the weapons. For weapons.count contains key weapons I dot item ID debug.log is a duplicate, else, and actually not items dictionary, we want weapons dictionary, and weapons dictionary dot add items, not items, weapons I dot item ID and the I. But even there, before we do that, we're going to be getting the item I, let's call it item, and say get item weapons I item ID. If item is null, throw the backlog and say weapons I dot item ID plus is doesn't have an item instance. This is not allowed. Okay, and we're going to skip it. Otherwise, we're going to get on the weapons I dot item and we're going to automatically assign the item. And because we have the item as well, no, we actually have only the item, we don't have the runtime. Okay, let's do it for the items then as well. Let's put public weapon. So we're going to do a cross reference between them. Item dot item, and then also item dot weapon equals weapons I. Come to think of it, because we have this, we don't need a dictionary because we're going to be getting them from the item, right? So ignore all of that, and that, and that, and just keep this. Okay, so there's that. Now let's go and create our weapons. Inventory, folder, weapons. Let's select the scriptables from here. Inventory, items, inventory, weapon, M9, MP5 short, and this pass. And we just need to assign the correct IDs right now. Item IDs, MP5 short. The rest we only need to assign the model prefab, so we can even hide the other one. 9. We're going to keep it visible though, just for this. So if I drag and drop this into the items container scriptable, into the weapons, M9, M5, and SPAS, it's going to take this, all these items in, it's going to take them as weapons. So with that said, because we assign this down here, we can then assign the type on the item dot type equals to be an item type weapon. Okay, let's go and say we want to have a wearable, although wearables is going to be a little bit differently. Let's say, let's just create a cell of or an example. Inventory again, come on, inventory, create wearable, delete all of this, scriptable object, create asset menu, come on, menu name, inventory, wearable, public string item ID, public item, item. Okay, then on to the item container scriptable, we can have a list, public list, wearable, call this wearables, new list, wearables, and then we're going to do another for loop for wearables dot count item equals get item wearables I dot item ID, If the item of course is null, do all of this. Otherwise, wearables I dot item equals and item. So inside the item as well, let's do a pick. We can also add wearable, basically the type the item can be. Wearable item dot wearable, then it's going to be wearables I, and the item dot type is going to be item type dot wearable. So let's go on to the wearable. We're most likely going to have a mesh, game object extras, extra prefabs, and also materials. Okay, we will utilize them on a later video. We don't need any of this. Let's try them though. Folder, wearable, create inventory wearables. Let's call this flak jacket or vest or whatever. Okay, and then over here, inventory, flak jacket, item ID, then flak jacket, down here. We need to drop it on the items container, scriptable, as you can see. Flak jacket, close that. We might be able to make this more automated, like skip the entire items part, we'll see. And let's say, let's go into one of these guys on the inventory then, and say flak jacket. Let's hit play. Don't have any errors, but you can see that the flak jacket doesn't have an item instance. So we have that item, we forgot to add this into the items list. Let's drag and drop this down. That's not an item instance. We need this item instance. Let's call this flak jacket. Type weapon. Okay. Before we end this, we're actually going to try and automate this list. Okay, so we have flak jacket. What's that? Hit play. We still have the what do we clear then? Maybe flak jacket. Oh yeah, we forgot to add the item ID. Hit play. Okay, and so one of these guys then, if we go into our runtime references, one of these guys has also the flak jacket. Now, let's try one last thing for this part, and that is automate adding this list. So, we have this item list, and okay, so here's what we're going to do. Don't write this yet. We'll see first if it's going to work without any problems. and then we're going to worry about writing it. Let's serialize it so we can see it, and I'm just going to add item ID in here, and I'm going to add, let's see, we can add weapon, wearable, okay, let's do a list, item C, instead of doing this in it though, I'm going to do not list, public void init2 obviously don't write this. Let's take all of that, all of this, drop them in here, and what we're going to do now is we're not going to be using the get item, we're going to be creating a new item, items C, new item C. Of course we need to skip this part, this item, and over here we're going to be adding items C.add item, and on the dictionary items dictionary.add item C dot item ID, and this will be items C dot count -1. However, we also need to update the item ID, item ID, and we will take it right from the weapon, in this case item ID. Okay, and okay, let's ignore this for now. Let's say this is probably going to work. I think, yeah, it's going to work without problems. Yeah, so instead of having to create all of this by hand and drag and drop them, the items, we can eliminate the entire need. So all of this, say goodbye to them. Then let's go into the script we have on this item. We actually don't need this anymore, but we need the item type, which we can just keep down here. Okay, close the script, save or whatever, doesn't matter, and let's go find the inventory, delete the item, load all, and down here delete this, and we need to rewrite this cleaner. Let's rename this to just item. This actually works correct, so we can take this, copy that, and paste it down here. We need to kinda rework this though. For example, the first thing we should be doing is if items dictionary dot contains key weapons I dot item ID, continue, we should be doing debug.log weapons i.item id plus is a duplicate, so it keeps that. But if it doesn't contain that, you create a new item, you assign the item ID, you assign the scriptable, whatever it is, it's either a weapon, you assign the type, and then you add it. We add it into the items list, which we're going to delete that entirely, and we're just going to keep this item list. Okay, delete this as well, we don't need that. And over here we should be doing items.count items. Okay, so that's it for the weapons. Copy this, actually don't copy that, copy this, contains key, weapons, not weapons, wearables now, wearables, item ID, wearables, then wearables, item ID, you assign the item, you assign the wearable, you assign that, and then finally add items, item ID, add all that. Okay, now when we're doing the init though, we need items.clear and items.dictionary.clear as well. Awesome. Save all of this. Minimize. And let's find our scriptable, let's find our item container. Okay, we have all of that. Remove all of this, we don't need them. And basically just drag and dropping things into this to-do list will populate the items list itself. Okay, amplify sort, the spaz, and all the rest. Awesome. So, okay, we are over an hour, so let's finish this here. We still have a lot of things to do. We're not done with the inventory, but yeah, we're going to add a lot more cool things on the next part. So as always, you know what to do: like, subscribe, and if you like to see more, and if you like for me to be able to keep making more, then consider supporting me either via Patreon or via Gumroad. Of course, with Patreon you can also get access to the site where you will find all the scripts, all the videos, and you can also get additional rewards depending on your pledge. I'll see you next time.